Hearn returns to form at the Valley. Britton proves he's no joker at the Great Race Place. We take the white flag with a second-generation driver at Albany, Saratoga. There's no smokescreen here. Race Pro Weekly starts now. Hello and welcome to another edition of Race Pro Weekly. I'm your host, Mike Warren. As we hit the month of July at the Lebanon Valley Speedway, Donnie Corellis is still the only driver with 2 feature event victories. It was only time to see if one of the veterans that already have one could step up and get their second. 30-lap modified feature would see Matt Papello and Andy Bacchetti bring the field to the green. As up in the early stages of this one, it would be the Jersey Jet making moves to the inside as he would go by Paul Gilardi and Robbie Pitcher on the inside lane, then go to work on Donnie Corellis as well. He would slide in front of Mike King and get up into the top 5 just 4 laps into the feature event, as Matt Papello would be your race leader in the early going. Hearn would go to work on Berger for spot number 4 as he would dive underneath him off of turn number 2. He would get by Kyle Hoffman and then get by Andy Bacchetti just 9 laps into the race and set his sights on race leader Matt Papello. It wouldn't take long as Hearn was just too good on the inside lane in what is the series car for the Jersey Jet, as he would take the race lead with just 20 to go. Papello would try to battle back on the outside lane, but at the flag stand, the drive shaft would drop on the 42 machine, forcing him to go into the berm, and that would slow, ending his night. J.R. Hefner would have another great run getting up into the top 5 once again, but it wasn't enough as the Jersey Jet takes home win number 2 in 2014. Brett Hearn would pick up the victory. Andy Bacchetti would finish in second, Kyle Hoffman third, Kenny Tremont fourth, and J.R. Hefner would round out the top 5. Brett Hearn's Big Show 6, and Dave DelSandro has the best seat in the house, that's for sure, as it would get started with T-Bone, Justin Ayers, and Billy Decker leading the field to the green in the 100-lap feature event. Super Matt Shepard would be on the move on the outside lane as he would try to turn the wick up. Danny Johnson as well, as he would go to the outside of Billy Van Imwagen and then try to work on the 18B of Bodie Bellinger. Brett Hearn would have to start 14th in this event as he would get by Jimmy Cottrell, and the Doctor still on the move as he would get by Bellinger to make his way up through the field as caution would come out for Elmo Reckner, and then the rains would come as the race will be postponed on lap 11 until July 30th. Running order as of lap 11 would be T-Bone, Justin Ayers with the race lead, Billy Decker would be in second, Danny Johnson third, Bodie Bellinger fourth, and Billy Van Imwagen would round out the top 5. And that'll be how they start when we go green on July 30th. Pep Karate and Neil Stratton would lead the field to the green in the 35-lap modified feature on the 4th of July as Jimmy Cottrell and Rich Ronca would make contact, spinning them out, and that would collect Keselowski and DiLorenzo, stopping the field. Off the restart, Karate would continue at the front. There's a little bit of close quarter racing on the front stretch between 4 cars. The caution will come out again for the 21J of Jeff Trombley, who stopped on the front stretch. Meanwhile, the heavy hitters were on their way up through the field as Kenny Tremont and Brett Hearn were slicing and dicing on their way up, and we would have a new leader as Neil Stratton would take the race lead in the early portion of the event. Kenny Tremont would make a big slide around the outside and try to crack the top 5 as the caution will come out again for Brian Gleason in the 14G. On the restart, with Brett Hearn looming in third and Peter Britton looming in second, you would only have to wonder if Stratton's days were numbered up front, as another caution will come out as you see Matt Depew being taken away after the wreckage. On that restart, Peter Britton would slide to the inside, and he would go to the race lead, getting by the 87 of Neil Stratton. Stratton would try to come back on the outside, but it wouldn't be enough. And now Brett Hearn would slide underneath Stratton for the number 2 spot, and he would go to work as the cat and mouse game would begin at the front of the field. Britton would slide up to the top side, Hearn on the inside. Britton would cut between 2 cars and then move to the outside. Then this one, Hearn tries to get through on the inside lane, but it would be Britton keeping the momentum. Probably the most impressive move of the night for Britton as he would split Keselowski and Justin Barber down the back straightaway. And while all this was going on, Kenny Tremont will come back into the fold as he pushed to the inside for second on Brett Hearn, but it wouldn't be enough up front as Peter Britton picks up the win. Batman. Peter Britton picks up the victory. Brett Hearn will come home in second. Kenny Tremont would finish in third, Mark Johnson fourth, and Ronnie Johnson would round out the top five. The folks from Morris Auto Group getting in on the gentlemen start your engines, as it would be Darwin Green taking the green as we get started with the 30-lap modified feature at the Fonda Speedway, as he would lead them up into turn number 1 and 2. Some cars on the move early. Mark Kozlowski in that Morris Auto Group car trying to move to the inside and catch Brian Gleason down the backstretch. And as they come around, they would remain clean and green. You'd see Bobby Merritt and Stuart Friesen trying to make their way up through the field, as Varon going to the inside of Corey Wilder. Yellow will come out on the speedway as Elmo Reckner would hit the wall hard up in turn number 1 and 2. And off of the restart, Darwin Green would recapture the lead once again as they made their way down the front stretch, and it was only a matter of time as Pep Karate moves to the outside and now tries to make a bid on Darwin Green, and Karate would take the race lead. Green would try to come back as it was side by side as they head down the back straightaway, and here comes Stuart Friesen on the move as he would go to the inside of Bobby Varon for position and then go to work on the 24 of Jeremy Wilder down the back straightaway. Caution will come out for the 16 of A.J. Romano, which would bunch up the field again, and Stuart Friesen would go back to work as he would go to the outside of the 3 of Mark Kozlowski. Then slide as Darwin Green gets out of shape, and Stuart Friesen goes by him. 24 of Wilder going to get collected in that with a little bit of damage. And then off the restart, it would be Friesen on the back bumper of Karate, and he takes it away easily off of turn number 2 as Stuart Friesen would go back to the front here at the Fonda Speedway. Mark Kozlowski would push to the inside of Pep Karate now for the number 2 spot, but up in front, that would be all she wrote as Stuart Friesen grabs another one at the Track of Champions. Friesen now 2 for 2 with a brand new car as Mark Kozlowski would come home in second, Bobby Varon third, Pep Karate fourth, and RJ Ronnie Johnson would finish in fifth. There's only one place in the Capital Region for you to get the full racing action. Stop down at the Bobco video booth at the track or call 518-399-0937. Bobco Racing Video, the next best thing to being there. As part of the 4th of July celebration, Mike Soul was putting up $3,711 for the drivers to bid for as they would try to pick up the win on the holiday weekend. Who would take home the money as we move on to the modified feature at the Ridge? 35-lap modified feature at the Glen Ridge Motorsports Park would see Bobby Vetter lead the field to the green as he would come around to complete lap number 1, leading Corey Wilder and Craig Hansen right behind him. Cars would be on the move in the early going as the newly painted yellow number 85 machine of Bobby Varon would push to the outside to crack the top 5 in the early going. Craig Hansen would move to the outside of Bobby Vetter as he would take the race lead, looking for his second win in 3 weeks. Varon would then look to follow as he'd go to the outside of Vetter, and he would get the position on the outside lane in that Bloomfield Forest entry as the caution will come out for Justin Combs. On the double file restart now on the outside lane, you would see Bobby Varon try to go to work. Downtown Jackie Brown invading from Accord would try to make his way up through the field as well as he would push to the outside and get in the number 3 spot, and then Varon goes underneath Hansen and he would grab the race lead down the back straightaway. Jackie Brown would get to the inside of Hohen Force as he would pull into the number 3 spot as the caution would come out on the speedway for Bobby Varon spinning and Craig Hansen stop up in turn number 2. Hansen would still be your leader, however, after review of the situation, as now he would be your race leader as Jackie Brown would sit into the number 2 spot. Jamike Soul will be on the move trying to get into the top 3 with Josh Hohenforth sitting in second, as now Jackie Brown with one last shot at Craig Hansen as they go down the back straightaway. He gets off of 2 wheels, but it would be Hansen coming to the checkered flag first as he would pick up the victory. Craig Hansen would grab the victory. Jackie Brown would finish in second, Jamike Soul third, Josh Hohenforth fourth, and Bobby Varon would come back to finish in the number 5 spot. Sportsman winner on the night would be Curtis Hohenschelt. Nick Stone would grab another Pro Stock victory, and Don Greco would grab the win in the Vintage Modifieds. Fireworks lighting up the sky before round 4 of the Super Dirt Car Series. It would be Tim McCready and Billy Decker leading the field to the green. A little bit of trouble on lap number 1 as they make their way up into turn number 1. Brett Hearn would get out of shape, and he would have a couple of cars get into him. Of course, the 9H of Matt Shepard getting jingled up there as well, as that would bring out the caution early, and Hearn would have to go pit side with substantial left rear damage on the car. Off the restart, Matt Shepard and Stuart Friesen would put a great battle on behind your race leaders as Friesen trying to hold down the number 3 spot. Meanwhile, Larry White, the 4 of Tim McCready, and Billy Decker putting on a show at the front of the field. As Shepard would have problems on the car, he would have to go pit side. And that would give the lead to Timmy McCready, as McCready would make his way around, but then he'd have to pull into the infield as something would go amiss on his car, giving the lead to the 91 of Billy Decker. Decker would feel pressure from Larry White in the closing stages of this one, but it would be the Franklin Flyer holding on to pick up the win at Rolling Wheels. The Franklin Flyer takes home the victory. Larry White would come home in second, Stuart Breeze in third, Jimmy Phelps fourth, and Gary Tompkins would round out the top 5. First sportsman feature of the evening at the big show would see Joey Scarborough and Derek McGrew make their way up in this 20-lap event. Rocky Warner going to turn it out to the top side here in the early going, and this one trying to get into the top 5. As Brian Crummell would also make his way to the inside of the West End towing car number 79 machine, as of course he was invading from the Orange County Fair Speedway once again. Scarborough would maintain the race lead, and this one is Connor Cleveland holding off the 79 for the time being, as caution will come out on the speedway for the 23 of Alex Bell up off the cushion in turn number 3 and 4. Off the restart, it would be Rocky Warner finding something on the outside as he would get by Cleveland. Then Brian Crummell would turn it up to the top as he'd move into the top 3 and then go to work on Derek McGrew for spot number 2. Crummell will get that with ease and would have a shot at race leader Joey Scarborough on the final lap of this one. As they go into turn number 3 and 4, however, Alyssa Cody right in front of the 44, which allows Joey Scarborough to escape to pick up his second win of the season at Albany, Saratoga. In feature number 2, Chris Lynch and Jeremy Pitts would bring the field to the green, with Jeremy Pitts getting the lead early in that Grennan Project Services car number 27 on the outside lane. A bunch of cars would get by him, including the 14X of Scott Dool, as Matt Papa would make his way by as well, and then Papa would turn it up on the inside lane as he would take the number 3 spot away and try to set his sights on Chris Donnelly for the number 2 spot. Back in the pack, Dave Constantino and the 22 of Tim Hartman would race for position, along with Adam McAuliffe in the 63, as they would make their way up, but this was all behind Jeremy Pitts, who dominated feature number 2. Joey Scarborough would pick up the win in feature number 1. Brian Crummell would come home in second, Derek McGrew third, Rocky Warner fourth, and Connor Cleveland fifth. In feature number 2, Jeremy Pitts would grab the win. Chris Donnelly would come home in second, Scott Dool third, Matt Papa fourth, and Dave Constantino would round out the top 5. Make sure you check out the Thomas Racing Video booth and their website at www.thomasracingvideos.com. Chuck Towsley would lead the field of the green in the 20-lap Pro Stock feature event at the Lebanon Valley Speedway, and this one was a wild one as John Ruthier on the move early on the inside of Nick Hilt and Ricky Duzlak as they go 3 wide down the back straightaway. Paul Rochelle trying to make his way up through the field along with Robbie Speed. Daniel Sanchez trying to race up there as Paul Rochelle gets turned around, and he will have to go to the rear of the field for being involved in the caution. Meanwhile, off the restart, a lot of great racing as Duzlak goes way high in a 4-wide battle between Hopkins, Yetman, Sanchez, and Duzlak down the back straightaway. All this behind a battle for the top 3, which is Towsley, Ruthier, and Yetman. Towsley would have the lead until something would go amiss, and I think that may just be engine trouble with the smoke billowing from the back of the machine. And then Rob Yetman off the restart would push to the inside lane as they would be side by side, and John Ruthier loses it in turn number 2, spinning around right in front of Victor Hopkins, who has to loop it to keep it out of harm's way, and Ruthier would have to go to the rear. Meanwhile, on the restart now, Yetman would take advantage. Daniel Sanchez trying to push into the number 2 spot with Robbie Speed underneath him. Speed would move to the number 2 position. All this behind Rob Yetman as Frank Twing trying to get back in it as well to have a chance for the victory. However, there would be no stopping Rob Yetman as he would pick up win number 3. That's 3 in a row at the Valley. Rob Yetman grabs another victory. Robbie Speed would come home in second, Daniel Sanchez third, John Ruthier fourth, and Frank Twing finishing in 5th. Other winners on the night in the small blocks, it would be Frank Harper. In the pure stock features, it would be Clifford Booth, Scott Morris, and Steve LaRochelle. In the dual cam feature for the 4 cylinders, it would be Kenny Stager, while in the single cam, it would be Ian Relier. 20-lap Sportsman feature at the Fonda Speedway would see Dan Santa Barbara lead the field down the front straightaway to get things going in this one. They'd make their way around, and it would be a little bit of trouble as Jason Grieco does a 360 coming out of turn number 4, and he will collect Chris Schaefer as that will bring out the caution. As you can see, Schaefer with a lot of right front damage, and Grieco, I believe, with a lot of left front damage. As we go green flag racing once again, as Chip Constantino would make a bid on the outside of Santa Barbara for the race lead. He would take it in that 124 machine, and then Connor Cleveland, who just graduated from high school, going to make his way down the front stretch and into the number 2 spot. A couple cars on the move is Luke Monroe on the outside lane, trying to make his way up into the top 10. Meanwhile, Rocky Warner would make his way up through the field as well, as he would battle his way around Curtis Hohenscheld for position as he would continue to move his way up. Luke Monroe and Rocky Warner would fight for position as they come through turn number 3 and 4. However, checkered flag would go to Chip Constantino. Chip Constantino takes the Dancing Bear to victory as Connor Cleveland will come home second, Brian Pessolano third, Rocky Warner fourth, and Danny Santa Barbara would round out the top 5. Other winners on the night in the Pro Stocks would be Chucky Dumbalewski, and John Brott would grab the win in the Street Stocks. Always entertaining, Don Don's Delight Street Stock Division at the Albany-Saratoga Speedway would get underway, and you could see Randy Miller moving up fast on the top of the cushion as he would pass a number of cars in the early going. 3-wide battle between Jody Thu, Chase Ossaker, and Paul Bramer as they make their way up through the field. As now Randy Miller would push into the number 2 spot, get by Darrell Older, and he would eventually get by the 91 of Matt Mosier very quickly as this was all in the first 5 laps. Jody Thu would go around after contact from Bill Dupree. Joe Walcott would get a piece of him going up to the top side as well as they would keep going. Jason Meltz with some good running trying to get to the inside of Darrell Older for third. They made contact coming down the front stretch along with the Flying Carrot taking advantage on the outside. 3-wide battle once again. Scott Lawrence was on the move in that number 24 machine as well, looking for his first win of the season. As now a 3-wide battle between Stickles, Yule Cook, and Darrell Older on the backstretch will continue to ensue as Paul Bramer would go around on the front stretch as these cars running fender to fender each and every Friday night. As you see Scott Lawrence continuing to make his way up through the field. And, oh, by the way, you wondering where Randy Miller is? He's gone as he picks up the win in the Street Stock. It was Miller time indeed as Randy Miller would pick up the win in the Street Stocks. Jason Meltz would come home second, Scott Lawrence third, Bill Dupree fourth, and Matt Mosier fifth. Other winners on the night, Jeremy Pitts would pick up the win in the Sportsman. Rob Getman in the Pro Stocks and the Limited Sportsman Feature would go to Ricky Davis. The Choices 301 program takes a multifaceted approach aimed at educating the public about the realities and dangers of what can happen when bad decisions are made inside a motor vehicle. Don't hesitate to designate.
Jimmy, how would you describe your 2014 season so far?
We're just getting a handle on the car. This is a new 2014 TO, and racing one night a week. We only get to make the changes that some guys get to make in a week. We get to make them in a month. So we're getting a handle on it. Our times are starting to show. We got a couple top 10s, a fourth there, and we just got to get these Hoosier tires figured out, and I think we'll be competitive here.
Now, you spoke about only racing one night a week. Why is it that we don't see you on the road that often?
Well, it's tough, you know. I have Cottrell Racing on the side of the car. It's the family racer. My friends from high school help me on the car. Dennis T-Shirt Graphics, they make all our shirts. www.icerace.com. I race with them guys in the wintertime. It's a non-profit. They don't pay none of their workers. They get the track ready and they get to race all winter long. And we just come over and have fun, family, friends, and come over here and race against the best of the best.
Talking about family and friends, your dad certainly ran here for a long time. How influential and how big of a help has he been here?
He's a very big help, and it disappoints me that I haven't been putting the 8 where I watched him put it all my years of racing, or watching him race. And we just got to get a little better, and we can put the 8 where the fans always seen it and where it should be.
Speaking of Albany-Saratoga here, how tough is the competition here week in and week out?
It's tough. You got a guy like Brett, and he's got, what, 114, Kenny with 50. I mean, I watched these guys race since I was 2 feet tall, and now I'm trying to beat them, and if we get everything right, we'll be competitive here.
What would be a successful 2014 season for you?
I think if we could get to the top 5 in points, be consistent for the rest of the year, I would say that we'd be able to keep the car and get it ready for next year, because my days racing are getting shorter. I got a brand new baby. My wife, she stays home with him. I go down to the garage, and I'm going to need a little more help to get the car ready, or Cottrell Racing might be done here shortly.
It's now time for this week's NISCA Performer of the Week. After picking up 3 straight victories at Lebanon Valley and picking up a win at Malta and Lebanon this past weekend, it will go to Rob Yetman. That's all for this week's show. For the latest news, results, and photos, check out Race Pro Weekly online, www.raceproweekly.com, and be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. So for myself, Matt Knowles, Fast Eddie, Scott Morlock, Amber Chalmers, Dave Del Sandro, and everyone that helps put Race Pro Weekly together, thank you for watching this week's episode, and we'll see you next time.